It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. After 3 years with Paul, the rhythm of our relationship had settled into a predictable pattern. The initial spark that once lit up my days had dimmed, replaced by a comfortable but monotonous routine. We still cared for each other, but the passion that had once defined us felt like a distant memory. I found myself yearning for something more, though I couldn't quite articulate what that more was. It was during this time of quiet dissatisfaction that Jake entered my life. Jake was a co-worker, someone I'd known casually for months but never paid much attention to. He had an easy charm, a way of making people laugh that felt effortless. His presence was a breath of fresh air in the stale atmosphere of my daily life. We started talking more, first about work, then about personal things, our dreams, our frustrations, our lives outside the office. It felt innocent at first, just two people connecting over shared experiences. But as the weeks went by, I began to notice the way his smile lingered when he looked at me, the way his laughter seemed to light up the room, and I couldn't deny the way my heart raced when he was near. I told myself it was harmless, that I was just enjoying the attention. After all, Paul and I had been together for years. Wasn't it natural to feel a little restless? But deep down, I knew it was more than that. There was a magnetic pull between Jake and me, something I couldn't ignore no matter how hard I tried. One evening, after a late night at work, we found ourselves alone in the office. The air between us was charged with unspoken tension, and before I could think better of it, we kissed. It was electric, intoxicating, and in that moment, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. From that night on, I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Jake and I began a secret affair, meeting in stolen moments when Paul wasn't around. The thrill of sneaking around, of keeping this part of my life hidden, was exhilarating. I told myself it was just a phase, that I would end it before things got out of hand. But with each passing day, I became more entangled in the web of lies I was weaving. I spun elaborate stories to explain my late nights and sudden absences, each one adding another layer of guilt to my conscience. Paul, ever trusting, didn't question me, at least not at first. But as the weeks turned into months, I could sense a shift in him. He began to notice the distance between us, the way I seemed distracted and distant. His questions became more pointed, his tone more accusatory. "Where were you last night?" he'd ask, his eyes searching mine for answers I couldn't give. I deflected, made excuses, but the weight of my deception was becoming unbearable. And then one fateful day, everything came crashing down. Paul came home early from work, unexpected and unannounced. I was in bed with Jake, lost in the moment, when the door swung open. The look on Paul's face is something I'll never forget, a mixture of shock, betrayal, and raw pain. He stood frozen in the doorway, his eyes darting between Jake and me, before finally settling on me. "How could you?" he whispered, his voice trembling with anger and hurt. I felt the walls close in around me, the enormity of what I had done crashing down like a tidal wave. Paul didn't yell, didn't scream. He simply turned and walked out, leaving me to face the wreckage of our relationship. In the days that followed, Paul demanded that I leave our shared home. I moved in with a friend, seeking solace in the company of someone who didn't know the full extent of my betrayal. Jake and I continued our affair, but the thrill was gone. Without the secrecy, without the danger of getting caught, our relationship felt hollow and empty. The cracks began to show almost immediately, and it wasn't long before we went our separate ways. I told myself it was for the best, that I needed to focus on rebuilding my life. But the truth was, I was lost, adrift in a sea of regret and self-loathing. Not long after, I met Shane. He was everything Paul wasn't, spontaneous, carefree, and unburdened by the weight of expectations. We started dating, and for a while, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't known in years. Shane was fun, exciting, and he made me feel like I could start over. But the past has a way of catching up with you, no matter how fast you run. One night at a party, I found myself face to face with Paul. The tension between us was palpable, a silent reminder of the pain I had caused. Shane, perhaps sensing the unease, confronted Paul in front of everyone, demanding to know what was going on. In a moment of anger and humiliation, Paul revealed the truth about my infidelity. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to me. Shane's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief, then to something far worse, betrayal. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice low and trembling. I couldn't speak, couldn't find the words to explain myself. Shane didn't wait for an answer. He turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, exposed and alone. The weight of my choices pressed down on me like a physical force, and I felt the full brunt of my mistakes in that moment. In the days and weeks that followed, I found myself grappling with the consequences of my actions. I had lost Paul, the man who had loved me unconditionally, and I had destroyed any chance of a future with Shane. But more than that, I had lost a part of myself, the part that believed in love, in trust, in the possibility of redemption. I was haunted by memories of Paul, of the life we had built together, and the love we had shared. I realized too late that some mistakes are irreparable, that the thrill of the chase had come at a devastating cost. As I sat alone in the quiet of my apartment, I reflected on the choices I had made and the relationships I had destroyed. The emptiness inside me was overwhelming, a constant reminder of the pain I had caused and the love I had lost. I knew then that I would carry the weight of my actions with me for the rest of my life, a painful reminder of the price of my choices. And in that moment of clarity, I understood that I had not only lost Paul, but also a part of myself in the process. The realization settled in my heart, a heavy, unshakable truth, and I was left to ponder the emptiness that now filled my life.